Hello, welcome to Make With Me Monday. My name is Robyn French-Smith. It's Monday, which means it's time to make something together. Today, we're going to be using the best ever emulsified body butter that the last time I did a Make With Me Monday with the best ever emulsified body butter, we made this base, right? And then now I'm showing you how, if you made like a base, how you would split that out and use it. So that's what we're gonna, I think, because I went back and looked at the last video. In the last video I had like the hot plate and everything set out. So I'm pretty sure that's what I did last time. I didn't watch through the video because I try not to watch my videos, to be perfectly honest. So we're gonna begin, but I want to also start by talking about how to sanitize and sterilize your area, because we say, like, in our ebook, make sure that you have sanitized your area. I don't think that there's any of our I don't think there's any of our ebooks where we like tell you how to do that. We could probably make it into a blog post, maybe, because it's not like worth like a whole rewrite or anything, but I'm gonna go over it today. So now you got that covered. Okay, so why is it important to do this? You want to make sure that your work area is as clean as possible to protect your products from contamination. That means that later on down the line, your customers aren't getting contaminated things. You don't want mold growth, bacteria growth, and even though the product is preserved, it's only preserved against there's different preservatives work in different ways, okay? So sometimes they preserve against themselves, and sometimes they preserve against new activity. So, and then some of them do both. So it just kind of depends, but really, like, let's not play with fire there. Let's try to keep everything as clean as possible. Now, when you're making it, obviously you want it clean, but also, if I'm using my master batch mix right there, I really want to keep that clean. One time, I had a batch of a master batch. I think it was like 3 gallons. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if anyway, it developed mold. It had like little mold spots on top, and I had to throw away the entire batch, because once that happens, that tells me that the entire thing is contaminated. So it really sucks. Like, make sure, especially when you're drawing from that master batch, that you are really, really keeping it clean, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that, but yeah. And so anything that has water in it is going to need a preservative. So when we're talking about like bath bombs, the water is going to evaporate out. So those are fine. When we're talking about lotion bars, right, and they're solid, just oil and stuff like that, the water's going to evaporate out. If it's something that's going to come into contact with water, though, or contains water, it's going to need a preservative, and you're going to want to do the thing to keep it clean, okay? All right, so your options are, you can use a bleach solution, and I would do, according to Colorants, you would do a 1 to 36 ratio of bleach to water. That is equivalent to 3 liters or 3/4 of a gallon, and a 1/3 cup. I can't third cup to metric in my head, but like whatever that is, of bleach. Now the bleach, though, the bleach water, I use this for my table, I use it for my scale, I use it for my microwave. I'll go through and do the buckets. Sometimes I'll do my oils, right? So it's anything where like my product isn't going to be in direct contact with it. That's what I'm going to use this for. And for things like this, like my utensils that I'm going to use 70% isopropyl alcohol. You don't want to use 90% because it evaporates too quickly. So 70% evaporates slowly. So it's going to be the one that you want to use. And for both bleach and isopropyl alcohol, it needs to be in contact with it for at least 5 minutes. So like before Make With Me Monday, I did all that with all my stuff. But let's say I hadn't done that. I have my spray bottle. I would spray. Well, that's okay. I would spray inside here. I would also come to my trays that are right here. And I have this so I can set my utensils on something clean once they're dry. But I would take my my jars and I would spray the inside of them, and then I would let them air dry. I don't know if you're supposed to turn them over or turn them up. I usually turn them over because they're usually still wet even after 5 minutes, so I think that they're fine. But all of my jars are sanitized because what I do is, let's see if we can find the container. Here's my lids. So what I like to do is I like to go through like and take a day where I sanitize all my jars at one time, and then I package them out into like packs of like 25 so that I can easily look at it, and then I seal it with like my impulse sealer. So I know that those sealed bags have already sanitized and sterilized containers in them, so I don't have to worry about it. Then once I open it and I'm using it, then I know that like that's the next one I need to use, blah blah blah. So that's what I like to do, and you would do the same thing with the lids. Okay, we did it. And you want to change your gloves frequently. If you're having to go around and touch a bunch of things, change your gloves. Change your gloves. It's okay. Change your gloves. The gloves are cheaper. And we're not in COVID anymore, right? I'm not having to hoard gloves. The gloves are cheaper than making your entire product. So, there we go. Now, I can't see any comments, but I assume that you guys are probably commenting. So I'm going to come over here to my phone, turn on my volume. Let's look at, and if you guys have other tips for sanitizing and sterilizing your work area, let me know. Another thing I do is I spray my phone with this before I start, because my phone is gonna have a lot of germs. Okay, you gotta just try to do the best you can and keep it locked down. Okay, no. Okay, so I see Stephanie said hi. Leia said hello, and Marisa said, and it says other people are watching. Sorry, I don't like to call out people unless they say like hi, you know, because like I had one time I had somebody who was like, oh, I'm just trying to watch and you make me nervous when you say my name, and I'm like, I'm sorry. So I try not to call you out unless you say something. Okay, let's get started. So I'm gonna take, I've already sanitized these, so I'm just gonna like dry them off because I don't want to have a bunch of like liquid on them, but they're already cleaned and sanitized, trust me. And this was the towel to put them on, so that's fun. Okay, but I'm just gonna dry this, and honestly my table's been bleached, so it's fine. It's just, you know, appearances. That's another thing, like sometimes you have to keep in mind. Like when I first started doing Facebook Lives, I didn't really think about the fact that like the way, I think somebody posted this the other day too, that because they posted their work area and it was like very well organized. Okay, but they're like, it's not super clean. But that's the thing, like a very well organized work area may not look super clean, and that's fine. It could be totally clean. It may not look like that. So if you are doing live streams, or if you are doing other stuff like that, just like, you know, what I used to do when I was like starting, I would take my phone and record myself working and then rewatch it, which is why I don't rewatch my videos now. But then I would rewatch it and then I would look and I'd be like, okay, that area is a little messy, so either stand in front of it or turn your camera so you can't see it, etc. All right. So into this base, or into this container, I'm gonna pull from my emulsified body butter base. And I want to make, because sometimes people will ask, like, how much does it make? It makes however much you need it to make. So each of these is going to be 2 ounces, and I know that they hold a little bit more than 2 ounces, but that's fine. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So I need 16 ounces of my products, but actually I prefer I prefer grams. So let me see how much that is. Ounces to grams. $16 ounces. I probably know it because it's like one of those numbers I see it. 453. Don't think I knew that. Anyway, I prefer to do grams because they're more accurate. And I will have a little bit of leftover. I will have a little bit of leftover body butter, right? Because I'm going to add 16 ounces worth of my body butter base into here, and then I'm going to add fragrance to it. And even though the fragrance isn't a lot, it is enough to make it that when I'm packaging these, I usually have a little tiny bit left over. You can turn that into samples, or you can just top off your other jars, which is usually what I do. I'm really tempted today, though, to try the thing where people like put they put it in a piping bag. I've never done that, but like people do it. And the emulsified body butter base is not going to hold its shape when you pipe it. So I mean, it may hold its shape for long enough for you to take pictures, but it's not going to hold that shape. But what can happen is it supposedly makes it easier to get into the jar. Because like if you had a lotion filling machine, right, that's what you would use. So okay, close this baby back up, put her where she goes, and now into this. It's thick. Okay, she's not going nowhere. So it is thick, like it'll hold its shape for just a minute, but if I pipe it, it's not going to hold its shape like this in the jar. So that's not what this one's for. If you want that, if you want it to be like really pretty and have like the ripples or whatever on the side from you piping it, then you're gonna want to use our whipped body butter, which I never do live because you have to like put it in the freezer and take it out, put it in, take it out, it's a lot. So I don't ever do it live. I'm still debating if I want to put it in a piping bag. The thing about piping bags, I feel like you're going to lose a bunch of product. Okay, I'm going to think about it. So I'm going to make a divot in this base. So kind of made like a little well there in the middle. And to that, I'm going to add my fragrance oil, which is going to be cocoa butter cashmere. I'm going to add it at 1%. You can add it at whatever the IFRA skin safe percentage is that it calls for. I like to keep mine between 1 and 2% no matter what it says. So like even if it says I can use it to 5 or 7%. That's honestly too much for me in my opinion, but check your fragrance oil and check your supplier, and your supplier should give you like the IFRA standards, which that's like the International Fragrance Association is what IFRA stands for. And they basically go through and make sure that like, because essential oils and fragrance oil, essential oils especially, have a lot of allergens already in them, and then fragrance oils are usually based off of essential oils, so sometimes they have those same allergens in them. So what IFRA does is make sure that, you know, this, if it had cinnamon in it or something, that it would be below that the usage rate would keep it below like a toxicity level. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pour that right into here though. And now I have a little pool of fragrance oil right there, right? So to my little pool of fragrance oil, I'm going to add some MICA. Now I'm going to use Honey Blush because this is cocoa butter cashmere and I want it to be like kind of like a soft tan color. I was going to leave it uncolored, but I wanted to show you guys how to color it. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm just going to use like this much. We'll see how that does. But I'm going to pour this straight into that well right there. I'm going to put a little bit more. Because think about the fact that you're working with a white base. So the base is always going to be white. So whatever you use is always going to be a pastel. And you could make it not a pastel, but the amount of colorant that you'd have to use to make it not a pastel, probably nobody would appreciate in a lotion. Which they're going to be wearing, you know, putting on where they have other clothing and stuff like that. Maybe, probably, sometimes, most of the time. Okay? So now this little blob of mica and this little blob of fragrance oil, I'm just going to really slowly start stirring them. And then I'm just going to stir them into everything else. And that's basically it. Like, that's basically it. So once you've done like the prep work of making your base or whatever, this is basically all you have to do. And the reason I don't add the mica in dry is because for me it tends to leave little speckles in the body butter, and no matter what, I cannot get it out. So I just started a long time ago adding it straight into the fragrance, and it works really well. If you're using like, if you're making it from scratch, you don't have to do it like that. I think that you could add it earlier, like when you're using your stick blender, and that would probably be fine. But yeah. And then the other cool thing about doing it this way is that if I wanted to, like I smelled it and it wasn't strong enough, I could add a little bit more cocoa butter cashmere to it. Or if I felt like it needed a little bit more color, I could just do like a little tiny drop of oil, like maybe avocado oil or something that's already in it. Just do like a little tiny dollop of that, put my mica in that, stir it up, and then add it. So it still looks white, but it's kind of like a creamy off-white. It's hard to see on your screen. It looks perfectly white on your screen, but it is like kind of a creamy white, vanilla-y color. And cocoa butter cashmere is great for the holidays, so that's why I went with it. So it'll be like one of our holiday fragrances. I don't know why it's a holiday fragrance. Nothing about it dictates that it would be a holiday fragrance, and yet. Alright. I got more base. So if I end up shorting myself on these, it'll be fine. Let's see about this piping thing. I've never done this for my emulsified body butter base, but I'm here to do the hard things for you. Okay? Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. Really, the only thing I like piping is Wonder Bar. Just putting that out there right now from the get-go. And I'm not going to put my whole entire thing in there, because what if I don't like it? Okay? So I'm just going to put a little bit so I can see if I like it. I lost some. Oh my god. Already lost some to the table. Okay. Let's see how I feel about this. Okay? I love these piping bags, and yet at the same time I really don't like them, because they're sticky to themselves, which is really good for some things, and then like really annoying for other things. And I'm just going to cut this off on the bottom so that it's open. And now I'm going to pull my scale over here. I'm going to put a jar on the scale and make sure that the scale is at 0 before I start adding product. So the total weight of your product that you list should be the total weight of the actual product that's in there. So you don't want to put that it's 2 ounces and there's not 2 ounces in there. You also don't want to put, oh my god, I forget that it's not Wonder Bar, babe. It's just gonna leak out the bottom if you turn it upside down. Okay, what you don't want to put is like, this is 2.7 ounces without the, hold on. So it's like 2.9 ounces with the jar. So I don't want to tell people like top it off a little bit and then say that this is 3 ounces, because it's not. There's only 2 ounces of product in here. All right, let's try this again, and this time I mean, it is a little bit easier. I'm going to show you how I normally do it. I just feel like I'm not meant for this. Because I apparently am having a hard time with it. But it is nicer. You do have those nicer, cleaner edges. If you don't feel like piping it and instead you do what I've been doing for years, I'm going to also show you that really quick. So what I have done for a long time is I just take the jar, tear it on the scale, take my body butter over here, scoop a little bit in, tap it down, scoop a little bit in. This is definitely more messy. Okay, I can recognize that. Tap it down. Do a little bit more. Okay, that's 2 ounces or 56 grams, and I do like to put just a little tiny more, like 58 grams maybe, just a teeny tiny bit more. Okay, the problem with doing this is then you have like these edges that are all messy, and you have to go back through and clean up the edges. What I've normally done, so this has a press seal lid inside, so that when somebody, I wish I had one in here that was like one of our formerly made one, like our, you know what I'm saying, a ready to go one. Anyway, this is like a press seal mold inside here. So when I put the lid on and I squeeze it really tight, it creates a seal so that when my customers open it, they go shh, and they like tear off that seal. So it's kind of like sealed for your protection. Also sealed for protection against little fingers, right? Because if you've ever been to a vendor's market, I say little fingers, and I say that very loosely because it's not just little fingers that do it. It's also the big fingers. People will just stick their fingers in it. Okay? So rude. Okay, so I would clean this up, and then I would take a little alcohol swab, and obviously I could use like 90% rubbing alcohol with a paper towel, but I feel like when I do that, I'm like constantly having to wet the paper towel, and then I feel like I'm more likely to just keep going, even though like I can tell that the paper towel is done, you know. So I would take this and I would just rub this along the top to make sure that it seals really well, and then after it's sealed, I would also wipe the outside of the jar with a little alcohol swipe, and that's going to help my label stick really well. So I'm going to go ahead and put this lid on, and it's not going to do its like seal thing right away. Like it's kind of like you have to put pressure. It might. Now that I say that, let's see. No, it doesn't do it right away. It like, for some reason, like you put it on, you twist it really tight, and then after a little bit, it's just like sealed. It's magical. Let me see if there's comments. I don't know, like now I'm torn because there is a clear advantage to doing it in a piping bag, right? Because you obviously have the less mess. Did I just become a piping bag lotion type of person? Is that what happened? My hands are too sweaty. I can't put that on yet, so just hold please. Let's see what Facebook has to say. Why would I still be on where I was on? Okay. Oh, more comments. Hi. Oh, like some more comments. Nectaria says hi. Stephanie says you're working and watching, and this is fabulous. Thank you. What are you working on? Tell us. Tell us. And then Nectaria says also working and watching. Okay, thank you. And Darlene says you're late. Sorry for not saying hi. Oh, you're fine. Hi. Okay, Leia says I have a question about an estimate. How long do you believe you could hold onto a base? Like, as long as it has preservative, does it have an infinite amount of time that it would stay good? So it's going to depend on your preservative, the life of the oils that are in your product, and good manufacturing practices say that you should get rid of it within a year. So we track the like we have, hold on, let me see if I have it. Maybe, hold on. No. Okay, so we track like the ingredients as they come in. So they have a SKU and a lot number. So the SKU is like an internal code that we use so we know what it is. And then the lot number tells us when we got it. So I would know that like this base had ingredients that were used within their lifespan, and then that it is now made into a product that has a maximum 1 year shelf life. Does that make sense? So I'm not going to use a oil that has a shorter shelf life or anything like that, but it's kind of a hard balance. But typically I would say not longer than a year. I wouldn't hold on to it for longer than that. And the reason is it would probably last 2 years, but you don't know how long it's going to take for you to sell it, first off, and then for your customer to use it up. And so, you know, so like say you were like, oh, I don't want to get rid of it because I think it has a 2 year shelf life, but then you know, it's got like 6 months left on its shelf life of a 2 year shelf life, and then you sell it to somebody and they hold on to it for like a year or something, right? It's like, yeah. The other thing that you can, yeah, so I would just track it like that. But you do want to make sure that you're using the ingredients that you're using have longer shelf lives too. So everything that we use in this has a shelf life that is a minimum of 2 years. Some of them have longer shelf lives, and that's really, that in your preservative is really going to determine how long you can keep a pre-made base like that. I will say that, like, I have kept it too long before, and it will start to smell like, when oils go bad, they will start to smell like old crayons. So like I had a store where I had my stuff in, and I kept telling them like, hey, this, like, you can pull this stuff because it's like not good anymore, you know, or it's like past its date. And they would say like, okay, and then like I would go check on it and it would still be there. And so one of the times I went down to check on it and it was still there, and it was from like the previous year. It didn't, I think, well, I had like bath bombs, I had like body butters, but the body butter smelled like crayon, so that tells me that it's expired. And the bath bombs just looked horrible. The colors had morphed, and it just, yeah. I don't know. Okay, I definitely am not going to get as much out of this, but like I dropped a big dollop over here. I also filled 2 piping bags. But I think I'm one of these people now. What have you done to me? It's also quick. After this is over, after the Make With Me Monday is over, I'm going to hop onto Patreon, and we're going to do a Patreon live. I'm going to make samples of this to send out on with orders and stuff. But I also sent, like, I didn't have any, I gave away like all my samples of body butter and whipped soap base, so I do need to make more samples. But also I sent samples if you were part of our auction. Thank you. Oh my god, we raised, like, I don't know yet, because I think that there's like a few people, we're still like waiting on their bids to come in, which is fine. Like, it ended Friday. I don't expect people like immediately Saturday pay. But I think we raised like $500, which I know is not a ton. I know that they need like a ton more help out there, but it's more than the molds would have done sitting over in those baskets over there. Okay, so I feel really good that we were able to do a good thing for other people. And we're thinking that we might do it again, and like maybe once a quarter. I mean, it kind of depends on, I have a lot of molds, so it kind of depends on how many molds I have. But we're thinking maybe we'll do it once a quarter, and then we'll just pick like a different cause each quarter. So if there is like a cause that you're like really passionate about, you could, number one, you could tell me about it, because I would love to hear like what you guys are passionate about. But you know, like maybe we'll pick that 501. So it has to be a 501 nonprofit, but like 100% of the proceeds go to that nonprofit. Like we're not keeping anything on it. Which partly is because, to be perfectly honest, like, yes, of course, I bought a ton of my molds, but there's also plenty of molds that have been gifted to me over the years, and I don't know which is which. And I know it probably doesn't matter, but it matters to me. You know? Like, it matters to me whether or not. Okay. Here is, sorry, I'm looking for skin that doesn't have tattoo. Okay, here's the best ever emulsified body butter base. I put way too much, which is why I'm having this soaping effect. It honestly doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, like, it doesn't take forever to rub in. I don't know, like, to me a soaping effect is like when you're like sitting there forever. It takes like 3 or 4 minutes for it to like really rub in. To me, that was just like I used a lot, and it's like squishing around on my skin, right? But once I've like rubbed it in, that's gone. So like, I don't know. I know that some people experience more of a soaping effect, but that's not really a soaping effect to me. But if you don't like it, if that's a problem for you and you don't like it, you can add dimethicone at 1%. You don't even need to change the formulation. You could even add it into this part of it, I think. I don't know, I've never tried. Maybe I've tried. But yeah, you can add dimethicone at 1%. It's going to create a more dry feel. I don't really like it because I don't feel like it's as emollient. But if it makes you happy, then do it. Okay. Are the press seals part of the lid or separate? How do you tell what size press and seal to get? So I used to get, I think it's Wholesale Supplies Plus and US Plastics and possibly SKS Packaging. They do sell, there are companies that do sell the press seals separate from the lids. And you would have to know what finish size your neck is for your thing. So like I think these are 470 or 7400, but like each lid has a different thing like that, so you'll have to know like what size lid you have. And then that's the same way that the seals will be like labeled, so they'll be labeled like 7400 or whatever. These did come with these lids. I got these from US Plastics because I have literally like 2,000 of these jars that I bought before COVID, and then I couldn't. Plastics were like hard to come by during COVID, but I couldn't get the lids for them because I'd bought the jars in bulk. So now we're just like buying lids whenever we find lids, and these are the ones that I like that had the best price. Yeah, so these came with it. The only thing I don't like is that it's ribbed on the side. I liked the smooth lids, but I do like that it has kind of like a lip right here, which makes them easier to stack on top of each other. So there's pros and cons. Give and get. All right, let's see what this is. Darlene says you like the pite. I do think it's neater and cleaner, and I do think it would be nicer for pictures. So might have swayed me. I'm just saying. More cheers for piping. Yeah, you guys like the piping. All right, so if you're in Patreon, come on over to Patreon. That Patreon live will start at 2 o'clock, and the link is already posted in Patreon, so you can just go click on the YouTube thing, and at 2 o'clock we'll start that. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I will leave links in the description for where you can find this recipe on bathfizandfoam.com, where you can find many other things. I'll see if I can find the link for these lids, and maybe if I can find the link for just like seals, like random other seals. I'll include that too. And any other questions you have, ask them, and I will try to respond. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and as always, happy making.